I just want to say that the people online cannot see the schoolhouse.
Hi, we actually don't have the key, and so we're actually trying to still figure that out. Do you know, who else is there anybody else on the call? You can, yeah, there are. There's one
Yes.
other. There's nothing really to see. We might even have to meet out here because it's already getting a little late, and it's going to take us a while to get the key.
Oh, you don't have the key.
No, we don't have a key to the schoolhouse.
I said I'm only coming if I can bring my dog.
I said it was fine with me, but then I don't see her here.
Go back to your dinner table. Thanks.
So we'll start the meeting in a few minutes here. We're just going to have to go somewhere else. We'll be right there.
Thank you, John.
It's going to be a few more minutes. We've moved over to the library and people are still coming.
Well, as they now get themselves into some formation, let's get up and catch up with the
Oh, itching?
Can people hear me now? Okay, can you hear me now? Can people on Zoom hear me?
Yes, Patty,
I can hear you.
Rita, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Well, I turned off my volume because I was hearing the,
Yes, it's Charles, hold on.
okay, can you hear me now? Caroline, can you hear me?
And then mute, you're mute on Zoom.
Yes.
Oh,
I
okay,
can hear you.
thank you, I appreciate it. Sorry for the late start, we had some logistics. Through every fault of your chairperson here. Okay, call to order at 7:46. We do have a quorum. We have Lindsay, John Myers, Dave Bailey, Karen Askey, and myself in the room. So that is a quorum. Any oral communications for anything not on the agenda? Going once, going twice. That's a no. Okay. Do I have a motion or do a review of the minutes from the last meeting?
We've accepted minutes and written.
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Have unanimous approving of the minutes from the last meeting. Under new business, I was asked to put this on the agenda for discussion at this meeting, the status of court number 3. I'm not sure who brought it up, but I put it on there. Is it something that we're going to discuss? As I was putting the agenda together, I thought we might want to table this discussion until we have the review of the new policy to see how it's going, to see if there might be any impacts that we want to discuss or recommend for court 3, or if anybody has anything in mind at this moment.
Yeah, move it deferred till sometime in the future.
I think that maybe it falls under the discussion about the whole pickleball court usage, right? And if I remember correctly, and maybe I'm the one who brought it up. It's about, do we want to repaint? Do we want to make that a tennis court? Do we, how do we fully utilize it? And I think, Patty, I guess one question I have is, right now, can you reserve Court 3 on
Yes, you can.
SCEDA?
Yes, you can.
Okay, is anyone reserving it?
No.
Okay, and they reserve a half of a court?
It's the whole.
You
court.
reserve the whole court?
I haven't split it into two.
Not really any use for other than basketball. Or and tennis, you'd have to put up the nets, which is a major,
Yeah, where's the net for that?
used to be. Straight building somewhere in town here.
Okay. And the only thing I'll add is that there's a theory that that third game that's on that court is actually, there's a tether ball. There's a hole in the center of the court that looks, and then the circles are for tether ball, and there's a 4-square court. And that's what remember someone was saying they didn't know the lines,
Right.
but my son looked at it and said, I think that's what it is.
Everyone.
Tether ball and then 4-square. Yeah,
The other thing I've also noticed, I've seen a lot of basketball players down there. I haven't yet seen full court, but there was almost enough for them. I've just seen a lot of basketball players during the day or different times, more than in the past.
So I think you're right. I think the discussion was around the lines and maybe what they meant. And should we repaint or reline next time? Either the courts come up for maintenance or, we find out what the results of the new town policy are. The town policy went into effect on June 1st. So if we give it 3 months, it'll be June, July, August. We review the results of the new town policy in the September meeting, which might be kind of iffy because that's right around the picnic. But I would think at that point in time, we could look at the reservation, the volume, any not disputes, but any concerns that have come up about the policy, potentially any changes we would make. And at that point in time, potentially look at what we would do with both.
And this new policy.
I'm sorry,
What's the new policy?
court reservation.
court reservation
Oh,
policy.
that, okay, we've been doing it. All right.
Since technically it took effect June 1st. So we said we'd give it 3 months.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay, shall we, to Lindsay's point, defer this discussion?
Sure.
Okay. Sorry, any public comment on that item? Thank you. Okay, we will defer. All right, the first item of old business is that Karen offered at the last meeting after a discussion we had to develop a straw person around Parks and Rec proposal or input into the general plan to accommodate PB's planned growth and the dedication of Parks and Rec facilities and space. So I did send that out with the minutes. Hopefully people had a chance to review that. I have a copy here in case anybody did not, which I didn't.
So, why don't I quickly highlight summarize this document? In our meeting last month, we agreed that there was concern as we move forward in the future and we increase our population with the current constraints we have on our recreational facilities. This is only going to get worse, and that we should be asking the developers to contribute to this cause and if they're going to be developing. So that was the agreement. So this is a draft, which starts out talking about that we did in the housing element ISMND Parks and Rec did feel that there was a significant impact as we move forward. And the response to that was that the feeling was there was ample open space But as I thought about it, what wasn't in there is really focusing in on what I would call the recreational facilities, the courts, the parking, different things like that. So, but essentially that we were disappointed with that. I think that, Dave, that was your comment. So the proposal is to look at any development over 8 units and have the developer donate some land towards a recreational facility or park or something like that that's needed. And it should be not only in our general plan where it talks about these things, but also there's nothing in any kind of building or municipal code about this. And in a lot of places, they call it a parkland dedication requirement, other towns and such. And essentially the rationale is we already are facing increasing limitations in space and parking. And that will just get more problematic with an increasing population. We talked about the sports courts and pickleball and tennis and sharing those. The fact that we can't find a dedicated spot for the dog park. The parking constraints around our athletic fields. And also the request for a playground that can cater to the younger children ages 2 to 5, which we don't have. And all of that will just continue to grow. And then obviously the general plan talks a lot about open space and regional space. And I cited the things in there that were specific to the general plan. We couldn't find anything in the municipal code. And then at the end, and this could be a bifurcated document, is just some other thoughts and ideas. One, that Stanford is one of the largest landowners in Portola Valley, and are there opportunities there? And particularly with the wedge. The wedge, if you look at the drawing, there's a tiny little parklet that has one swing set, one slide, and a spinning thing, and a small amount. And it's not inclusive to one of Portola Valley's goals is to everything should be inclusive to everybody. It's the way this is designed is I just don't think the rest of the community would go to this area, that it's not serving all of Portola Valley. So is there an opportunity there? We know there are those tennis courts at the corner of Nathorst and Alpine. Should we be looking at preserving those somehow? The Priory has tennis courts up on the hill that I think are not used that much. Should we be pursuing some sort of joint usage with the Priory on that? Ladera, we consider them to be within our sphere of influence. They have lighted tennis courts, a larger playground, a swimming pool. Should we be looking at reciprocal privileges somehow there as we move forward? And then we mentioned Corte Madera and Ormondale, but the question is there any land there that would be available? And it's out there as a question. And then, our last question is at some point, would there be opportunity with the El Mirador property, which is adjacent to town center land? That would be great, but that would probably involve some sort of land swap or the like, because our understanding is Post will be owning that at some point in time, or does own it, but it's tied up in the estate. So that's essentially, and the request is that we codify this. But I would urge you to read the document more thoroughly and make comments that we can talk about it at a high level.
Thank you for doing it. Wonderful.
Any comments from the committee?
Or questions?
Questions, comments? Yes.
Good. I'm ready to come up with questions. Have none at this time.
Okay. I'll go ahead. Karen and I talked about this a couple times while she was developing it. I think it's a good document. It's a great idea. I think that I support the fact that, or I support the idea of us coming back and saying that we're deeply disappointed in the response to the ISMND. I was missed a vowel in there. And in particular, being more specific about why we were disappointed in the response and what we hope to get the town to think about in more detail and potentially codify. I think there's kind of two documents in here. And again, Karen and I have talked about this. One is the codification of how we ask developers to set aside additional land, or not additional land, for these type of purposes as they're making these developments. And we can discuss the size. In here, it's 8 units. You know, we don't know what that's going to be. And I think, I don't know, Karen, if you mentioned this, sorry, I stepped out to get the key. Try to get the key. That this would probably go to the planning commission first, right? Because they're the ones who really make kind of the planning decisions, and then on to the town council.
My understanding is we can only, we're advisory in nature and we can request this, but that it would have to move up where the planning committee actually makes recommendations to the council. So to me, that seems like the process that would follow.
Yeah. So I was thinking there's kind of the first part, which is what we would like to codify or recommend about how these developers do their land. What Karen kind of talked about at the end is some of the opportunities that we have as a town to find additional recreational land, like Stanford, like maybe sharing something with the Priory. Not sure that's part of the first codification. To me, those are opportunities we could look at. So in my mind, we could separate these two documents to make them simpler and to talk about how we wanted to go forward with each. Other than that, I think the content is something that I think is great for us to have discussions about and to really think about how we want to move forward as a Parks and Rec and really influence kind of the future that this town takes hold of in terms of our recreational facilities and usage. So those are kind of my 2 cents. I know, but we're finishing our committee discussion first.
I would agree with the 2 documents part where like there's the proposal, there's the letter to the town or
The request.
the request of codification, and then there's almost like a plea for help, give us space part. And I feel like they should be separated. I don't know what the avenue to I don't know who we get the second document to, or
Yeah.
I don't know what the path is for the second document, but the path.
Is there-
Second document may be something that we dive into deeper for us as a Parks and Rec committee, or work on projects separate for.
Or also Sarah's not on this call, right? Our
I don't think so.
liaison.
Sarah, are you there?
Working,
I don't think so.
we need to be discussing this with her.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so that would be an avenue as well.
John, any thoughts?
Right, so basically, there's a lot of ideas in here, right, in terms of things we could pursue.
The first part is the request for developers to donate land for recreational facilities. And the other considerations, the last piece is this, what would be the separate document? And those are ideas that don't, they are separate from asking for the developers to donate the land. So yes.
Say that again about developers donating land, so.
Well, so what would happen is, and actually the general plan, you would, when a developer is on a piece of property and they're going to develop it, there has to be, and I don't know what the formula is, John, there has to be, there are times when developers pay money into a fund. But as we know, that's not really going to help us, and what we need is the land, right?
Right.
So instead of asking for money, it's to set aside a piece of land on that property that is some kind of recreational facility or park for the entire Portola Valley community. And the thought, and obviously what comes to mind is Stanford has the most land and probably is most capable of doing something like that. But that's the thought process. So for instance, and it may not work at every place, and it's not for, that's why we came up with 8, is any development over 8 would need to do that, because you're then adding, a certain number of people in to those 8. And if you look at this one piece of language in the general plan, it's not, it says, where possible, the acreage in parks, open space preserves, and portions of greenways or scenic corridors serving residential areas should not be less than 5% of the total acreage of the residential areas served. For example, a 400-acre residential development should be served by no less than 20 acres of public park of the classes enumerated above. But if you use the 5% rule, which is in our general plan, if you had 2 acres, then that'd be was that a quarter acre? Am I even doing my math right? Let's do 5 acres, then it'd be an acre. It's that's in here. Now, I'm not saying that's the right formula, but that's what we would look for.
Yeah, would that recreational space though be isn't it for the resident of that area? It's sort of like with the ranch where we all can't use the facilities of the ranch. It's only the ranch people who can use the ranch.
This request would be that it be used for the community, which is what the general plan wants. It wants
It's open to the public.
Yes. Now, the ranch, when I looked at the municipal code, there was there was some language that sounded like it was for the ranch, designed for the ranch. But I can't remember what it was. It didn't apply to this specific situation.
It had something to do with a subdivision.
A subdivision, it was.
Which is what
yeah,
I think the ranch is
Yeah, right.
intended to be.
It's
So-
not much a donation of land policy.
It's a set aside. It's a set aside.
It's just, yeah, I mean, it's a designation of
Designation.
land for the entire community. Not just what I would say that what Portola Valley doesn't want to do is start having these little communities that become exclusive of, letting the larger community use it. And when I looked at the wedge plan, I went, oh, this will be great for that community, but people aren't going to, first of all, there's no parking in there. There's no way anyone else would come in and use it. So we need to be thinking how to retain our inclusivity, if you will.
But you're saying that's already in the general plan? That statement?
What I'm sharing here on the screen, can you see that?
Yes,
in the
so this
general plan.
statement that is in the general plan, but the general plan, I went to, this is my understanding after going to a couple meetings about the general plan. There's a lot of stuff in the general plan that is not, it's guidelines. It's not enforceable. So these guidelines were set forth for us to follow as for the community, but they're not necessarily enforceable, which is why it has to be codified in the municipal code.
Exactly what the recommendation is to codify in this.
Yes, it's in the building code, right, and then not only in our code, but also in planning phase, is to make sure that it's, when someone reviews the plans, that's there and it gets built as such.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public then for any questions. Caroline, you want to go ahead?
Sure, thank you so much. I just want to let you know that there is a huge communication problem right now. We don't see who is talking. I assume that it was Karen who gave this wonderful presentation, I was not aware of this document, and I was not aware of this new development of the 8 units. So it would be very informative if we can shed light on it and give more details. But I would like to come. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, keep going and I'll answer at the end. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's great. Thank you for bringing up the general plan, because everybody who is now serving our committee, we're trying to bring that up. We were supposed to work all in coordination, and that's what we need to do. You brought up the Priory. So I don't know about these other developments, but you brought up the Priory. The Priory is again changing its CUP, is asking for another amendment, and there's several issues around this. The planning department is not responding to our questions. So when the master plan for the Priory in 2005, there was an agreement with the town that we could use the sport facilities. And I hope you will help investigate what's going on. We're trying, as residents and as committee members, we're trying to do that as well, because the planning department is not answering our questions, and town council, well, I know they have a lot on their plate, but we need to be joining each other for the same purpose. This is a wonderful community, and we have to help maintain this community in the best that we can. Thank you.
And Caroline, to your, thank you for sharing your opinion. In response to not being aware of this document, this is the first time that it's been shown. So so in our meeting last month, we talked about the concept, and then I volunteered to draft something so that people could respond. So you're in at the very beginning. It hasn't gone anywhere else. Does that make sense?
Yes, was it on the website? And did I not see
It's
it?
attached to the Parks and Rec agenda.
It's not, yeah, it's just on the agenda for this meeting. It shouldn't be published anywhere else.
It's only a discussion document at this point.
And it says draft all over it.
I put draft all over it.
Okay, that's great. I will look again. I didn't see it when I looked at your agenda earlier today. So I will look at it again, but it's great work. Don't take me wrong. I encourage everything that you do. But there's a lot of, the fact that we cannot see who's speaking is kind of disturbing, especially because we spend a lot of money on this new technology. And I hope there's a town council liaison available tonight who can see this, because we continue to have problems. It's beyond imaginable. But thank you for your work, and we will continue to contribute. Thank you for giving this draft, and we will continue the discussion. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Carolyn. So 2 things. First of all, if you go to the Parks and Rec meeting on the town webpage, scroll down to the bottom, you'll see the listing of the Parks and Rec meeting. Click on that, click on the agenda, and then just keep scrolling down past the agenda, past the minutes. You'll get to the draft document that we are discussing. So hopefully you can find it. If not, let me know and we'll send you a copy. Second, I do apologize for the technology. Unfortunately, we are not in the schoolhouse. We had to move to the library. So we are at a little bit of a disadvantage there. We're trying to make the best of it, but we'll be conscious of speaking better so you can hear us. And unfortunately, Sarah is not able to join tonight. I know she's on the East Coast visiting family, so. But she keeps.
Thank you, Patty. Thank
She
you
and
so
I
much.
keep very
Don't
well
worry.
informed
Don't
about the
worry.
meeting, so. Thank you.
Don't worry.
So
Thank you.
Carolyn, are you 7562?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
But
all right,
because, yeah,
Okay.
I'm both people.
okay, all
Thank
right,
you.
all right, you're two people. Okay, great. Rita, did you have a comment?
Yes, I just want to thank you for your ingenuity of moving over to the library. And so if the people that are not on camera, I can see Patty and I can see John, but whoever is not on camera, if you can just say your name when you start talking, that would really help. But I'm just really enjoying everything that's being said. And since these are suggestions in your draft to the housing element ISMMD that's already been sent in, but seems to be in somewhat limbo because of actions by members of the community. I strongly suggest that this wonderful document, even in draft form, gets sent over to the council members so that they can have it as part of their, brain while they're thinking about the other possible changes that they're going to have to put in the housing element ISMMD. Because it looks like there may be some other edits that need to happen, which will turn that document into a live document again. And these things could be inserted if that happens. But thank you for
Okay.
doing this hard work.
Okay, thanks, Rita. I appreciate that. The other people I have in the room with me, and we'll do a better job, is Lindsay Bowen, John Meyer, Dave Bailey, and Karen Asti. So we're all in the room. And we're in the library. Colonel Mustard with the candlestick in the library. Okay, and on your other suggestion, certainly who we forward this document on and what we choose to do with it will be a discussion we'll have in the committee.
Yeah.
And then probably the next discussion would be with Sarah. Just depending on what we decide to do with it. Maybe.
I wish that Sarah, I'm sorry, I understand that she couldn't be here, but I think that we need to make sure she sees this.
Yeah.
And that we have a conversation with her. And I guess a question I have for Karen, for Brown Act purposes, is now that this document is public, can I receive comments from people individually on it? Like, I just don't understand.
Individually from the committee or individually
From both, from the committee as well as from the public. Because now it's been published,
Yes.
It's out there.
Yes.
Okay, well, anyone who would love to comment on it, I'd love to talk to. So please get in touch.
Okay, so I'm bringing it back to the committee then. Any other comments or questions? Now.
What do you want to have happen is we'll submit it. And then it feels like there'd be an awful lot of follow-up needed.
Well, so yeah, good question. So the first thing is obviously we as a group in Parks and Rec need to agree what we want to submit. And what I've heard tonight is we want to separate the two documents. We've got the one that is the request of the developers. And the second one is ideas on what can we be working on now, and to try to get those ideas circulated among more people to see if we can make progress. Once our group has agreement, the things that I see now are, yes, going to hopefully get the wheels thinking about it. And also in that is the, and I'm not sure what Rita was talking to. I didn't realize that the ISMND might have edits, but we certainly need to follow up on that if that's happening. As well as Commissioners Haskell and Taylor are working on what they're calling a post-housing housing element adoption plan. And it's all this stuff that once the housing element gets approved, what are all the things that we still need to do? It's not just about submitting a document and getting it approved. There are a lot of follow-up things in that. And that we would want this to be a part of that post-element adoption plan, because again, that's one more way to codify things, put it in our code, get it in our plan, make sure it's aligned with our general plan, that kind of thing. But it's going to have a lot of discussion.
Right.
And have to move forward that way.
Yeah, I mean, one thought is some of the suggestions, no reason we couldn't just go and do it, right, or try to get it done.
Right, and that's what,
Working with Ladera, whatever it is.
right.
That's a
Yeah,
second
so,
document.
so what it's gonna do is we're gonna take that off of this document. Yeah, perfect.
This is, this is David Bailey, so just to be a devil's advocate, so. Let's just play this forward 10 years and we were successful, and this was codified, developments of 8 units or more. Dedicated, these mini parks, is that what we want? To have a small handful of mini parks throughout the whole valley, is that truthfully alleviating our issues?
Well, I think it depends on what you visualize as a mini park. If it's a couple tennis courts, you know, from town center, if it's a dog park somewhere else, if it's more, if there's a playground for another playground that can accommodate younger children, I personally don't see a problem with that stuff being around. If it's tiny little mini parks with a swing set and
Yeah.
a slide, that's not what I'm visualizing. I mean, I'm visualizing things that the entire community can use. That's what we want. We don't want just little tiny neighborhood developments being served
Yeah.
by that. Is that,
Although to Dave's point, you know, a small set aside of land on a 2-acre piece of land is not a very big piece of land.
big enough for a dog park?
No.
Maybe. You never know. I mean, or it could be a basketball, it could be the half-court basketball court. I guess, I mean, in an ideal situation, everything would be consolidated, or maybe we'd have 2 recreational
Yeah.
sites. But if we can't do it that way, we need to be figuring out how else we can get it done.
What's the farthest point? in Portola Valley, what's the longest journey one would have to make? To a park?
Maybe up Winding
Sure.
Way,
Are you
Winding Way.
for a hiking trail?
No.
Not just a park for a local.
Well,
Yeah, I'm just thinking, so we kind of want to consolidate, but if they have one swing set and there's something else up here. You know.
well, that's what it's for it would be for development of more than 8 units. So it's,
Okay,
you have to look at where you can actually be building in Portola Valley too.
yeah,
So,
8 stories straight up.
There is something in the general plan about how close a recreational facility has to be to everybody, and I don't remember what that language is.
I think it's a quarter. I don't remember. Don't quote me on that, but it is.
It's
the
in
general
there,
plan.
it's in there. Okay, other comments? Okay, so I'm hearing a proposal that we separate this into 2 documents, first of all. And second, that what would be the next step? Review with Sarah?
We have to review with Sarah.
And get her comments about maybe what the next steps would be. I heard a couple other things in here about kind of trying to find out what the status of the ISM and BP is. And then also saying if we can get a handle on what the post-housing element process is going to be
Right, the thing
with
with
Judith Haskell
right,
and
Haskell and Taylor.
Taylor.
Yeah.
And seeing if this might fit into that.
What was the community members, I think Caroline's comment about the Priory?
Carolyn asked us to
She said
help
there's
support something about the fact that the Priory had initially offered to provide their sports facilities to the town, and now they were backtracking on it.
So that's something to
part
ask,
3, right?
Sarah too, is about the agreement that the town has
Or I
with the
could ask,
priory.
I could ask
or
Howard.
Howard, whoever.
I could
Yeah.
ask Howard on
Okay.
that. Okay. Does that, I don't know if we need an emotion or anything. I mean, does that sound like a good follow-up plan?
Yeah, and comments, if you guys can, take some time to read the document and let me know your thoughts and specifics, but we'll,
I mean, we adopt that as a plan to be evaluated by us. They change it, but we're gonna go.
Yeah, I think we review a draft, revised draft at the next meeting with these comments incorporated. Or any comments or questions that Karen might get between now and then incorporated. Does that sound like,
sounds great.
all right,
This is Karen, sounds good.
Karen, thanks so much for doing that. I really
Oh, you're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
My pleasure.
It was
Doing all my little research. Yeah.
pretty picture.
Okay, back to the agenda. Zots to Tots Town Picnic Planning. No, I haven't been doing squat. How about you? Have you been doing anything? I think we just throw it together at the last minute this year. What do you think about that? Think
I
so?
do feel pretty far with it. So I have some questions.
Can you guys hear John? I don't know, John, if you need to unmute or
But before you get into Zots and Tots, truly, have you spent much time on the picnic? That's
Yes.
fair.
yes, I have. So on the town picnic, this is Patty talking. We put the save the date in the town weekly. So that's in there. Hopefully everybody's got it on their calendar. I've got Stewart Rentals. We've got all the rentals reserved. Town PO and 50% deposit. I've got the petting zoo and the pony rides. I've got the inflatables. I've got the Boy Scouts. I've got the Cub Scouts. And I've got the face painter.
The Girl
Is there a
Scouts.
local Girl Scout chapter?
Girl Scouts don't do anything. The Cub Scouts do games
Okay.
and the Boy Scouts do hamburgers and hot dogs.
Yep.
I haven't talked to the Girl Scouts. Maybe
They used to do the cakewalk, but that ended. Remember the cakewalk?
I do not remember the
There's music.
cakewalk.
It was musical chairs, and if you won the musical chairs. you
I
got to
understand
pick
what a
cake.
cakewalk is, but
Yeah.
I don't remember being at the picnic.
How about a dunk tank this
No,
year?
no, we're not. Well, okay, I guess
Oh,
I shouldn't. Okay, let me finish this before we, the one thing let me get to the band. One thing I haven't done is, I haven't tied down another food truck. Last year, we had the hamburgers and hot dogs and a food truck. Person that I used to book the food truck with last year went out of business, unfortunately, so I'm still working on that. I did send out an email to all the committee chairs, asking them if they wanted to sponsor a booth this year. I've also confirmed with the Woodside Fire Protection District that they will have the fire engine here with the WPV ready booth and everything like that. So yes, I have,
Good hands.
Let's say what?
well,
Um,
Yeah.
Would,
Well, actually, there's still a handful, a few things. You're ready. Go ahead.
my question was, I did see the announcement and the weekly update, but what about, do you want me to do some stuff in the forum of Save the Date? Because a lot of
we
people
could.
that don't are on the forum aren't necessarily getting the weekly update.
yeah, you could, yeah, do you want?
I think we
I'm
should
doing
wrap
it.
that up.
Yeah.
It's 2 months, right? 2 months out. So
Oh, you know what I didn't do is the banners. Thank you,
checklist.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
Years ago.
I have not done the banners and the posters yet, but I will get on that. They're pretty quick turnaround time and those, I think-
It's really exactly the same as last time, but just the
did you like the little red and white checkered
I
thing?
couldn't read it.
That's true. Yeah, you couldn't, yeah, we have to think about that. The banners and the posters I have not done. The band, so Miss Askey was gonna look into the band for us.
And I'm going to have to say that what I remember is we were gonna find out, somebody recommended the last band.
Yeah.
And I failed in my responsibility on that, so I will follow up again. Don't do it. Sorry, I will follow up the first time, I never followed up again, if that makes sense, but no one. Okay, go ahead.
There was some talk at the meeting about budget concerns, or are we just ignoring those?
Yeah,
We are not ignoring those. I had a conversation with Sarah right after our meeting last month, because I remember we had talked about the town was gonna freeze spending. She told me to not be concerned. The town picnic was a priority for the town. And that she gave me permission to go ahead. And she said, as long as you stay within your budget. That's what got the last person in trouble. So she said, we should be fine. Yeah, those guys. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think we're in pretty good shape on the picnic. I've got some little things to do.
Need a food truck, Lee?
I do need a food truck.
You care what style?
We had Mexican last time. That
Yeah, I
seemed,
got a good guy.
do you got a good guy? Can you
Well, I
look
got a
at-
guy who knows a good guy.
do you know a guy who knows a
I
guy?
got a good guy, fish and chips.
Chips. Okay. Yeah, David, well, you two talk to each other. I'd love to do something. And last year we had the Bliss Pops at the finish line. They were really expensive. Do you think that was, it was like $1,300.
Hello, Russ.
Roses for corn.
What, do you think it was popular? Do you know?
Yes.
Somebody's daughter grand.
Exactly, yeah, so there's like 100 kids that really like it, this is why we can just do something that's cheaper.
Okay, well, let me look into Bliss Pops.
Because one thing we did at the end of the championship softball game was we had a soft serve ice cream truck.
You know, I was at the Palo Alto Glass Clay Art Festival this weekend, and they had a Mr. Softy truck that had like soft serve. I thought I should call them maybe.
I do think we should do something for the kids in the end.
Okay.
No, she just wants to repeat his chicken.
Yeah, that's tough life, you know, you gotta keep chasing that.
Okay. Anything else on the picnic that I'm forgetting? I've got some little odds and ends that I need to do, like tablecloths and things like that, but
Is the website up on the town website? Isn't there a page for it or something now? It's just not the dots. Gotta be a town picnic, you know?
I don't remember having a town picnic webpage.
It's in like, well, that's in the upcoming events,
Yeah.
like there's a section that is, but
September 23rd.
We went through kind of a checklist that's a little old, but for the dots and tots, some of it overlaps. Because one of the, well, it just starts with communication to people, right? So, and we're gonna come quickly here to the shutting down the street. That's kind of the biggest, a big part of the plan, say that, of which we haven't really done much of anything yet. So it should be every time we communicate, whether it's with the PV forum, should probably be in that when they put it out in their newsletter. So there's always mention, not only is there a town picnic in Dots and Tots, but the street's gonna be shut down for a couple hours. So then we need to get together with the police on that as well. We need to go more and a few people in person, spring down.
I sent them an email. They didn't acknowledge it. I'm gonna reach out to them and just say, you must acknowledge this email. But I'm assuming there's no change to them. They just need to be made aware of the date, because we're not moving the finish line, right?
I could do the one thing that I really remember was that we put the finish line head of, what's the road right here? Westridge right there, okay. Thinking that that would be open, right? And then what happened was the police shut it down anyway. Right, because they thought it was too dangerous, because people were finishing and then going to the town center. Right, and they were staying in the road. And so they shut that down. And it is a way to get around everything, right? So if it's shut down, cars basically have to turn around instead of going up and around.
Yeah, the bicycles.
And the bicyclists
were not happy either, yeah.
Right.
So I guess that's a discussion to have with the sheriff this year.
Unless we want to move the finish line in some way that allows them to, well, I mean, you can't, the way is they walk to the town center.
Yes, already done for.
Right, that, I'm not even sure why we need to do it up there. We put it there so that we could keep it open. Right, so if it's not.
Well, we
it's
put
gonna
it
be
there
shut
so we
down.
could keep Springdown open too.
So if it's gonna be, we could move it further down the road if we're gonna shut that down anyway.
But then,
Back towards.
but then it gets,
Because it's a relatively long walk to the town center. You want to kind of finish at the town center ideally. It's what we used to have, right?
but then you shut down Springdown.
Well, I don't know. This is the question is how far can we move it to the town center without shutting down the entrance to Springdale?
It's already just on the other side.
It's about 100 yards.
Yeah.
Right. We could just leave it.
Can we shut down spring now?
And we're not happy.
You can have that conversation with them.
Well, we shut down PB Hardware, Roberts. It's true. And all that stuff.
True.
We lock people into Alpine Hills.
Yeah, she threatened to sue us.
Well, they,
Oh, you can get the Springdale. You just have to- Anyway.
yeah, just park here and walk over.
Yeah.
There's plenty of parking around.
Look at the church, look around the back.
We can have that discussion again and try to put the finish much further down.
I'm happy to do it. I would need the support of the town. I would have to ask. I think I'd have to ask Howard if he's willing to take that on. They were really nasty last time. But I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, it sounds like.
I'm not happy to do it. I mean, I will do it, but
It will. If we tie a hand behind your back and.
Is there a compromise for the bikers where we leave the lane on the far side open so that bikers can traverse Westridge?
I remember talking to the sheriff about that, and they didn't like the fact that then one lane would be two-way traffic if you kept Westridge open.
On Portola,
On
you'd have
Portola,
to, yeah,
on
you'd
Portola.
have to have traffic.
So if you shut down, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you left the right-hand lane open for bicyclists, then you'd have to leave the left-hand lane open for people coming out of Westridge and going into
No, I'm
Westridge.
saying close.
If you left Westridge open.
Well, I'm saying leave that intersection closed except for bicyclists.
Bicyclists on the race or bicyclists?
Bicyclists going through the tour of Portola Valley like they always do.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So no car traffic.
No car traffic through,
But
but
bicyclists are-
leave the,
It's not something we should do.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we could have that, could have that conversation with Sharon. Okay,
Well, let me just run through because we just have to start checking off, and a lot of this, I guess, I'll do, or Patty, you and I should figure out who exactly is going to do what, but the registration needs to be done. So Carrie just has a bunch of, probably some things in here to do, right? Let's see what else. The town website, that's kind of also the registration.
Remember, we agreed to raise the $5.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also don't think that Boston, the accounting isn't always good. They only counted the stuff that came through online pre-registration. I don't know what they just didn't write down the other part included in this. Let's see here, I'll get the trophies, medals. I assume we should still do that, right? I think we needed trophies.
Yeah,
We need medals. I could just do the exact same medals, right? Just with a different year on it. Does anybody care?
You know, I gotta tell you, every year I pick up, I can't tell you how many medals I pick up on the ground.
Well, we can do a lot less, like with all of these types of things, we can do less. And say it's the first. We're not, you know, and then also, you know, this, I feel like we need something. We knock it out medals.
how many medals do you think?
Maybe you get a
Yeah.
popsicle, right?
50?
Medals? No, we've ordered like 400 medals,
How did you pick up?
picked up like 50.
I'm not sure you need medals because those are sort of, then they're an award traditionally for placing or, you know, something like that, but some you could do, I don't think ribbons really, people will keep those will be all over the ground. But some sort of participation, which maybe is popsicle.
Ooh, popsicle.
It's the
We
Bliss
can
Pops.
do without them. Usually there's some type of participation thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Often there's a, you know, when turkey trots or often there's something.
that's like a ribbon or a little,
Yeah.
that charm, that foot charm on your,
They weren't that expensive. I'm trying to think about how much they were. They're no more than like $1 each. or something. So it's a, you know, it's a few
Yeah,
hundred.
I don't mind them. I mean, I'm not opposed to them. I tell you, I'm picking them up off the
Oh,
ground.
for sure. Well, you know, that was true for t-shirts too. Probably two
Hats. You know.
times.
yeah, because they're getting,
Well, the kids get on the inflatables and they, you know, they're metal. They kind of swing around and hit people. So you do plastic.
We did cheaper ones before, right?
Anyway, okay.
All right, let's keep going. So then the big question is, what's the style hat that we?
The hat. It's the hat.
I'm gonna ask these guys too.
For the budgets, right?
Well, I was gonna do a mix, because I think frankly, that mostly women have visors, a few men. Men mostly do hats. Some do visors, but it's limited, and I think kids do hats. Maybe some. Do I get kid size visors?
Yeah, hats, maybe.
the visors have a Velcro thing on it, like a size thing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there will be enough, you know, I mean, they'd be adult size, but again, they probably stretch. So I'll have to figure out the numbers based on that, but it's a kind of gonna be more of a first come, first serve. We're not gonna ask them what they want. They're gonna be there. We should decide whether we give them out even at the front versus the finish line. Because,
Give them out at the finish line, that comes the participation award.
Okay. And there's a little bit of something needed at the front. It's just so you get there, you know, and
Yeah.
you kind of get your bib number, but is that it? I don't know. No,
Maybe
like,
the
That's
kids
really what
running on.
happens in a regular running race.
No, the kids are around 15 minutes for
you
the
get-
hat.
I don't know.
Turkey trot.
What'd we do last year?
Oh, no, but,
forget.
okay, sorry. Get them at the end.
Shirts,
Okay,
often the beginning and the end are the same. Start.
True.
What did we do last year? I forget.
We did them at the front, but we can have some at the end. You know, we can say, look, you can have it at the end, especially because we're not, for a while there it was also what sizes and we had to designate, you know, got one.
Last year was hats, so it's
It was
easier.
hats, yeah, so we just had them and said, again, it was that same thing, it was just like grab a hat. Again, if you guys want to.
Well, we don't need to decide this right now, so.
Well, actually, we should decide this. as long as-
No, we need to decide the hat, but we don't need to decide where we need to give
So
it.
these guys.
Okay.
So somebody said they like white. I don't know who else. Maybe the visor.
For the visor.
Yeah, but actually some guys said they, because I had green. I had blue, and you know, and they said, no, let's just do white, because we can do white visor. And so, and we can, I'll show, let me see, I don't know if I can share my screen.
I don't have a security thing on here that says,
Let me do it, actually, watch this.
can you share your screen? I can't give you, there you go.
So. For anybody online that's interested. so,
Karen, do you want to see these? Lindsay, do you want to see?
No, I'm good.
You know,
You
if you weren't
can
interested,
get-
thoughts,
I can imagine I had.
2023, I don't think it was. Oh, it's a Portola Valley, that's 2023, and this time took off the Portola Valley and put the schoolhouse on. You know, that could be-
Yeah.
What's happening in front of you. I think it's relatively straightforward for, you know, we looked at other things, but I don't know back. Is that those embroidered? Yes. Are you okay with this? You like that? Yeah. How about you guys? The hat, don't worry about the visors yet. We'll come to that. You like the white hat, and just put the schoolhouse on it?
It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably better than.
What about some absolutely?
Yeah.
It does, okay. So if you go up to the visors, and you guys are probably better than me at this, the comments left to right were, I'll go right first. They thought that was maybe too small with the schoolhouse, all of it was a little hard to read. By the way, I've looked at a lot of visors, and that's often the case with visors. They'll have some logo on it, and it's actually hard to see.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of what you want. The middle one was considered too plain. Okay. And the left one, again, originally it had different color trees, but anyway, it was fine. One person said, well, they look like horns. You know, so just telling you what I hear. Telling you what I hear. So.
You can please some of the
multiple
people, some of the
votes, right?
thing.
I've literally had kind of an equal number of votes all. So, people have asked. So we'll let you guys decide. You have, what do you like in terms of visor designs? This is some other choice.
I think if you're gonna do the schoolhouse and the hat, you should do the school. I
I
mean,
kind of like the consistency for sure. I wish
like
the
the
2023 could go under, but there's no room.
I'm not crazy about the picture, but I think if you're gonna do it on the hat, you should do it.
Would you like something other than that for the hat? So, what other- some-
No, I said the picture on the visor. I mean, you just can't tell what it is. But maybe nobody cares.
John, do you have any idea how in actual, what the actual size of that schoolhouse will be on a visor,
Yeah,
Is
the
it-
visor's gonna be like this, right? So
right?
true enough.
Is it gonna-
Like that big.
Well,
But I wish I had the advisor, because again, I was just playing softball yesterday and. Or the day before, and a couple people had visors. And I looked and I was like, I had to go all the way up to kind of see, because they're just a lot smaller when we, the rest of us had baseball hats. And sure enough, you could read the Portola Valley softball pretty easily. I think that's what's gonna happen here. you know? Now, we can make it so you can read it easily, but it looks like that middle one. You can make it so, no question, if you don't want to put a logo on, or, you know, some type of graphic,
Yeah.
you can make it readable. But it's a matter of, if that's all you wanted to say, which would be fine. You know, kind of open.
Can you raise it so I can see the hat again?
I'm not sharing it.
You are, but I can't see the hat.
Oh, well.
No, I want to see both of them at the same time.
Boy, this
Scroll down just a little bit, just a little tad, just a tad, just a tad.
Visor in the middle is not the same. It's the one above it.
Can you put the 2023 on the visor?
I can't
You-
only this way.
you had it on, the one on the right had it, but it's on the art.
Can you see that?
It doesn't have the 2020. Oh, it does. Oh,
Yeah, the
oh,
one
it
on the
does in the
But
rainbow.
I wasn't able to make it to the pretty small, you know, it just comes the same as.
I see, I see.
2023 kind of sticks out. It's a little large relative to the size.
The metal, what's there behind you?
Yeah, right, it's from, they collected, this is
It
history.
is one of the metal, yeah.
hanging from the TV.
Yeah, I see it now.
She knows it from trivia night. We use the same ones for trivia night. All right, any
I don't
other?
know.
So after looking at them all together,
Yeah.
I liked being able to compare them all together. I think it makes sense to use the schoolhouse on both of them and to go with the visor that says 2023, and even if it's smaller, it's okay, because most people wear visors that don't even have anything on them, so, yeah. But that's my opinion, and I really would defer to anybody else who feels strongly about it.
Yeah, I think we really need to
Yeah,
put it in visor. And
Design graphics and
Yeah.
spend some money to,
I think down the back,
I agree. I like the school.
Good job.
To the far right one.
All in favor?
Any public comment on this?
I motion. that we-
Okay, we've made a big decision tonight.
It's not the kind of.
Yeah, well, what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna call the sheriff and get a meeting together pretty quickly. Now, how much do you think we can ask the bicycle committee to, I know, I know they're not gonna take ownership because they don't do this, but damn it, they need to be really involved.
They have done well. Get volunteers.
Yeah. So I think we should start getting them.
Well, that was, I was
Thinking
gonna
about it.
ask, and if this post I put in the forum, I'll also ask for.
Yeah, start asking for volunteers.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, anything else on Zots? I did talk to Bill about the finish line. Which we could talk about later. He just said, we gotta do something that, from a safety perspective, last year there were some pretty near collisions, so
Oh,
racing to the end. The cyclists that come through,
You still have the blow up thing going.
well, Carrie has it, it's in the storage space, but, yeah,
yeah, let's see if we can recreate to them that the hill climb or something for San Francisco last weekend. We didn't see that. They're plowing down there.
Is it just a matter of maybe having the cone stretch even further?
well,
Because it's mostly. the
Maybe.
stuff.
but we need a big sign that says bicyclists to the left, runners to the right. And,
Vice
what happens if they don't see it till the last minute? I don't know, it's just,
maybe you got the person,
I'm sorry,
maybe a volunteer.
I need a volunteer to stand at the end and scream at people. Might be one of the volunteer positions.
We'll emphasize it again at the beginning, but we do, because they split up at the beginning. We say bicyclists on the right, runners on the left. We say, tell them that that's what it's worth. They have to finish it. But excited.
There's this big wonderful farm just for the runners.
Or the bicyclists go through it too, right?
They both
We
go
have
through it.
cones to separate it. but we-
Yeah, we did. They just didn't
Let's just
stick
start
to it.
Bill volunteering to talk to them.
I volunteered him, yes. He didn't volunteer.
It was last time we had water bottles. What did we do for that again? Did we actually go buy them?
Which ones?
Water bottles for them?
No, it was that
Oh,
chiropractor handed them out.
should we ask them again?
Yeah.
You have that?
Yeah. Okay, anything else on the picnic and Zots? Okay, thank you. Progress is good. This should be fun. Okay,
Yeah.
Town Heritage Center.
We actually have authority.
C, discuss status of port usage reservation policy. I do not have any updates. I've not had any feedback.
We were talking about the review in 3 months to consider court three, like what data are we expecting to have accumulated to review?
I can pull data off of SCEDA to see what the reservations look like. I think pulling in Cindy, getting her feedback, just generally how it's going and what she's hearing. The only real data we'd have would be anything SCETA would have about reservations.
Question here is like, reason we did pickleball.
I think, yeah, I think there's too many lines. I think you'd have to
Well,
almost,
once we might get all out, or from scratch.
As long as the pickleball lines aren't bright yellow, because that's been the biggest complaint, is that they're great for pickleball players, but for anybody else using the court, it's very hard to see other lines.
It's not a conflict.
it is if you're saying only make it pickleball?
Take away the tennis court
Well,
lines?
Well, nobody ever plays tennis.
Well, that's because there's no net. Right, so I guess
Yeah,
that,
but they have
Well,
two.
plus kind of awful.
Well, you'd want the net there if you played pickleball on there anyway.
well, I actually asked about that. I did ask Tracy, and she said it's not great, but it's definitely not in the way.
Yep, they'd definitely be in the way for pickleball.
No, I went and looked at them. They're way off
They're closer they're closer to pickleball than they are for
the
tennis.
basketball.
Pickleball courts go beyond.
Or just putting,
I don't think it would get in the way, because.
Anyway, can we defer? We're not talking about court three yet. So I have no input on the court usage policy to share.
anecdotally, I was talking to the, Mr. Richards, I think, who was at that first meeting.
Yeah.
The guy talking about the,
The state board,
Yeah.
County?
yeah, and he realizes he's been remiss about that. And may come back on board, but he is a tennis user, and he's like, yeah, it's been great.
I have seen more tennis players there recently, but
Did
maybe,
you see the men's final this weekend?
yes, that was at Wimbledon.
Yeah, we could kind of expect that
But
here.
it was incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Okay, D, discuss request for Little People's Parks playground equipment. The only update I have on that is that, well, two updates. I have reached out to Sally Ann to ask for any history about discussions they had when the original Little People's Playground was designed at the original town center. She is looking for that. I haven't heard back from her. I'll follow up with her, but she did acknowledge that she got my request. Sally Ann Reese. She said she was involved in the original design of the town center.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But the person that did the playground is quite a huge wife. I know she was heavily involved in the design.
Okay, somebody told
She
me,
was doing mosaic tiles, but I didn't know that she was doing the design of the actual.
Well, I don't know who did the actual, but I remember her, but.
somebody told me to reach out to Sally Ann, so I don't know.
People, but she was a fundraiser,
Yeah, I understand.
yeah. I don't.
Okay, the other update I have is that Howard had asked the landscape architect to look at the design of the playground because there are a lot of state regulations about the distances and the requirements for playground equipment. And the landscape architect did come back and say that there was no room to add any additional equipment unless existing equipment was removed.
Can we expand the playground and stuff?
That is an option. We haven't looked at the space around the
Yeah.
playground to see where it would extend into. I think the question is, given that information, how much do we want to move forward on this? And what additional information or questions would we ask?
Okay, I think we should have one. I like the idea of a all kid playground.
So to do that, would you then look at, you know, what additional space would be available? Because that would be the only way to do
Sure.
it. Or removing a just existing.
Yeah, well,
equipment.
not be in separation. You know, need like 3 or 4 things. Kids, like 10 minutes, do something else. Something.
Space again, we don't have space, but space.
Yeah, parking lot, hey. It was a parking lot for 20 minutes, one.
Other thoughts, comments?
Agenda item again. So this is where, and the woman was here saying that needed maybe revamp the playground just because of the being like into old, just for younger, very young kids.
That it was too, some of the stuff was too high or, you know, and complex for younger kids.
Yeah,
But, and I think I recall you saying that at the time that it was designed, it was meant to be that way, right?
That's what someone told me,
Yeah.
but I didn't confirm that with anybody on the,
And one of the examples that, what's her name, Atare?
had to read.
Used was the Ladero Rec playground, has things for some of the smaller kids. So anyway,
Is it bigger? Is space bigger?
it's different. I don't know if the actual square footage is bigger. It's different things on it. So anyway, yeah, I mean, this is everything we're doing. It's always coming down to where's the space. Instead of where's the beef, it's where's the space.
And when you say space, you mean that's my outside of that playground or inside the playground?
There's no space inside.
Inside the existing playground,
We'd have to expand it.
or put in a completely new playground that would have you're right, that could have some equipment for.
You'd have to
take
remove
something away,
existing equipment. Expand.
Take out the sandbox or something.
Or like the wagon.
yeah. But. Yeah, you gotta make room, but not get so much stuff, people are running into each other. Should be that order.
I need to take a walk over there. I feel like there's lots of stuff for very little kids. That playground. It's not like one of these big, dangerous playgrounds. It's a tiny little-
Well, don't you remember that just that presentation that Atare gave to us?
You want to have some. Yeah,
No,
Right.
yeah, I know. I mean,
but that's not to say we don't want to look at it and say, maybe swap out some things that might be, it's even been already 15 years.
I think the question is, do we want to recommend that the town would probably, Howard said the landscape architect kind of did this, you know, gratis. If we wanted somebody to take a really look at redesigning the playground, we're talking about spending money.
Like just going outside of the fence. The softball field over there, in here, whatever the building is, it's right here, just.
I know, Lindsay, there's a lot of requirements about playgrounds. You just can't. The state has a lot of regulations. I mean, we could
No, I know.
certainly look at it if there's other space, but I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and actually putting in a,
thinking about, they're thinking, having to raise personal tax, just balance the budget.
But maybe, can we just get somebody who knows playgrounds to kind of, and know an expert on it, and somebody just get a consultant? We could just ask Calvert to find somebody to look at it and make a recommendation as, you know, how to make around
Is that kind of what the landscape architect did, though?
it.
No, after that, Howard.
No, Howard talked to the landscape architect who said that there was not room to put in
More.
in the existing area.
Putting more stuff.
Yeah. But you're saying get a
Do you not think
recommendation.
To say, can't we just replace these?
Good, but I think, you know,
Yeah, you don't want to place-
I mean, it's kind of like pickleball versus tennis, right? How many people do we have using the big equipment? If you take some of that out to make room for the small equipment. Are
Is that an
we,
issue? Is it there's too many big things in there?
I have no idea. I've never even been in there.
It's not.
There's not little things. Well, not according to this mother who came to speak to us, so.
The regular stuff that's
Shed, and all kinds of little things.
This woman brought in pictures and said that the things that are in there are too big for little kids.
Yeah.
Big structures. Big structures. Well, this is what I say, let's get somebody who knows and say, or what should a playground look like?
She
I'm
had,
going to get somebody who's, Patty, good for you.
no, I don't want to do that.
I'll talk to somebody who knows. I haven't tied a couple of ropes to a big pine tree and we're done.
What would the committee like to move forward? How would the committee like to?
I'd like to hire somebody that knows.
Well, you're still waiting to hear from Sally Ann,
I
correct?
am.
Does she know? Gotta be somebody.
I really don't think
Call up
Sally
and
Ann's
say,
involved in the design. And
She responded back that she would look in her records and find out what she.
Yeah.
Maybe, I haven't talked to her since. Sorry, there's a hand up. Carolyn?
Great, thank you very much. Listen, I've been a constituent resident of Portola Valley since 1994. We have been very involved with this community. We're very pleased what the town has done for young children. I mean, my kids grew up on fields. And if you remember the Redwood Grove, that was the playground. And then they
Yeah.
have now this magnificent, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Now we have this magnificent. I have interference, so I don't know what I'm doing.
No, Lindsay was talking. Go ahead.
We have this magnificent playground, and there's a lot of nannies not from Portola Valley, who come to this playground. So I would like to understand what the problem is.
The problem, Carolyn, is we had a
No.
presentation several months ago from a mother who expressed some concern that the equipment there is not suitable for younger children.
Okay, well, I'm an occupational therapist. Why don't you send me the information? I would like to know if this mother is really a Portola Valley resident. If
Yes, she
really
is.
brings her
Yes,
kids
she
to
is.
this playground.
Yes, she is a
Okay.
resident.
Okay, well, let's investigate this, because there's a lot of freebies in this town, and my gosh, I would like to understand what her concerns are. So please put it on any public communication, and we will investigate this.
Okay, it was part of a public meeting about 2 months ago.
Oh, great. And so do we have a contact information? We can communicate with her?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. I'll volunteer to meet with her. And we can examine what the playground and what the issues are.
Okay. All right, I will send you the contact information. Thank you,
Great,
Carolyn.
thank you.
Appreciate your help.
And send her the
Yeah. I'll send her this. All right. Thank you. We will follow up on that. E, discuss charging Portola Valley Pickleball League fees.
Okay, so we think that where we left off on that is we wanted a little bit more information. And you guys can speak up on this, is that we were wondering if the fee structure for clubs and leagues was appropriate for pickleball to make it. I think there was agreement that it should be consistent and there should be some type of court usage fee charged or something like that. Or, and I've done a little bit of research and just, and this is Karen speaking, the Peninsula Interclub Pickleball League, of which Portola Valley is a member. There are 9 teams in that league, and the Portola Valley is the only public facility in the league. The rest of them are private clubs where the members are paying monthly dues. Some of them fairly significant, you know, to be able to use courts and such. So those are Alpine Hills, Foothills, Saratoga Country Club, Ladera Oaks, Fremont Hills, Burlingame Country Club, Bay Club, and Los Altos Golf and Country Club. In order to play in this pickleball league, each player pays $25 per season to the Peninsula Interclub Pickleball League, not to Portola Valley, just to the league who does the administration. And then if you play on a second team, you would pay $20 for the second team you're on. You can play in a single gender and then the mixed league. So it's hard to make a comparison because you have private clubs where monthly fees can be $400 a month to the Portola Valley, you know, courts where they're free right now. So I did look at Menlo Park and Palo Alto and Los Altos. I got that far. And Menlo, one of the things that happens on all these courts is there is a court reservation fee. And resident charge is less than non-resident. In Los Altos, they don't actually let non-residents reserve. They just let residents reserve and nonprofits. So that's a key difference between Portola Valley and these other public facilities is if you want an advance reservation, they have a reservation system that can accommodate the fees and everything. So you're paying per hour per court. And to give you an idea, Menlo Park charges, and this is for $17 an hour for residents and $22 an hour for non-residents.
You have to pay $17 every time you use a tennis court.
Pickleball court, and you reserve pickleball courts too. And they use this system called Perfect Mind. It's a reservation system because I went in.
Perfect Mind.
It's called Perfect Mind. Yeah. Anyway, Palo Alto, and they have a pickleball club, but I don't know if there's a fee to join there because you have to join via Facebook. So I didn't get that far. Palo Alto has a pickleball club at Mitchell Park. And to join the Palo Alto Pickleball Club, it's $30 for a single resident, $60 for a family resident, and then it's $50 a year for a single non-resident and $100 for family, but that's for their club. And then the court reservations are $8 an hour for a resident and $10 an hour for a non-resident. And nonprofits are free. Or it says NA, sorry, it says NA, which I'm assuming is free. And then Los Altos is $8 an hour for a resident and a nonprofit is $6 an hour, to give you an idea. So that's, you know, the question is do you charge a club league fee or do you charge a court reservation fee? And I'd say that's about, I mean, if you have other questions, obviously there's a lot more research that needs to be done, but that's what I was able to garner from our local neighbors.
So then do we have an idea of what their seasonal use and hours would be?
Well, so, yeah, so you mean the interclub pickleball has 3 seasons, that are 16 weeks long. Does that seem right, Mom? So, I don't know on an hourly, if they were reserving it for matches as well as then for practices. Do you have an estimate of what that might be?
Probably. And they're playing a match a week plus practice. I mean, again, just to think about it here, that's different. We're just talking about the league now, right?
The interclub pickleball league. So, you know, and then also there's 7 Portola Valley teams, I think, each season, with 8 players on a team about.
I mean, and you
6
reserve
or
a
7.
court, just a pickleball court, or the like, for the tennis court, it's about 4 of them on it.
So, because I didn't get into these reservation systems, I don't know the answer to that, but I know Menlo Park has, their pickleball courts are at Kelly Park and Nealon Park, but I didn't get to drill down that to see. I think it's for the entire tennis court. I think it is.
And
But I don't
also
know.
that You can have as many as 16 people on a tennis court.
Correct.
That'll cut it down a lot. I mean, when you're talking about whatever you were saying, $17 now. It's like $1 in bracket. It's fully loaded.
But that-
Yeah, I don't know anything about the leagues that they're in and how that's run until we would talk to someone at those.
I'm guessing most of them play a couple hours game and a couple hours practice, so it's a 4 hours. a
Wait,
week.
but we don't have any way to collect or monitor hourly fees or even court
Right,
fees.
sorry, I just wanted to know that, just so we could do some math to be,
Okay.
like, to understand how absorbent our
Okay, all right,
current fee structure would be applied to that.
okay.
Because that was the reason behind just the estimates, because that's what I was kind of the extra I was doing.
Any way we can, if we do it the way we are now, it's just, again, it's gonna have to be just 1 or 2 leagues too, right? And the individuals. That's the league, somebody has to run a league that's gonna collect it.
Yeah,
So we're
we
talking
have
city,
people who
we
do
don't-
that. So, Tom runs like the men's league, so,
But he would apply for on that form with whatever those fees are
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
yeah,
We'd
and then
say,
and have his insurance as well.
Yeah.
Well, I know that the Peninsula Interclub Pickleball has insurance, right? I don't know then if you run a court, if you need it for Portola Valley. See what I'm saying?
You have to show a certificate of insurance, you submit your application.
Right, but they don't submit an app,
Now.
they don't now, so I don't know if they have the right.
I think they do. I think Cindy does it kind of like where she's like an instructor or teacher and she has whatever the pickleball kind of state association. Right, so I think she goes through that and I know at least Mark Emerson does it through just, there are insurance companies, the same one I use for the soccer and what's a different one for softball? Softball uses USA Softball. They just issue insurance to you.
so however they get it, they would have to provide proof of insurance.
Right.
or
Yeah.
they said I got 30 individuals,
Right,
so 30, and I'm of this category.
Right.
So. 30
So
individuals,
that's on them.
That's a rate.
that's on them, but
That's the
then,
town check.
that's kind of independent of what we charge them. Because they have to pay for their own insurance, right?
Right, I wouldn't worry about insurance, it's.
No, I know.
Wait.
It's not clear that these-
Well, I think we're talking about 2 different things. So we're talking now that we would just charge them, whether they're a club or a league, a fee per player like we do with soccer and, yeah.
because we were saying
So
you
not
can't do it by the hour.
Right,
And they have to have insurance, that's just.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
but they have to apply to the town.
Yeah.
And when they apply to the town, they have to show proof of
yeah,
insurance.
yes.
Yeah.
We have
That's
to
what I
agree on
was
that.
talking about.
That'd be
Yes.
easy for them.
How they get their insurance is
Yes.
none
Yes.
of my business.
It's not that expensive. It's
Yeah.
like $5 a player.
So then what we're concerned about here then, I think, is what would we charge them, basically? So we're saying. Or what would we propose?
It would require. The numbers, there's already a number out there, right? It's the same number you use in soccer field, because there's no,
There's no number out there.
absolutely, there's a,
On the form,
on the form, there's a number.
On the
It's
form,
Same,
for what?
for the
there's no
reservation,
dispensation. You know,
For,
there's
for a
soccer
tennis
field.
court? No, for a tennis
No.
court.
Yeah, there's no dispensation between a court and a field. Yeah, doesn't matter.
it's because
Field and court
it's
is
league
exact-
and
it's
club,
exact
it's
the same
not,
thing. So that's how it is. It'd be the same amount, so then we would have to change the policy and we don't have to, we could recommend to change the policy and derate the court fees to account for the fact that you're not irrigating and mowing them and other stuff. There will be some maintenance thing, which we would have to inquire with Howard, what he thinks would be an equitable duration of it. But it would be a change to the fee structure. Yeah.
There's nothing on here for courts.
no, it's for leagues and clubs using facilities is what they're saying. So the courts are considered a facility, yeah.
It's an old one. Which is hard to find, right?
So if a local organized adult league,
That's
$62 per person per season.
But it would be, but for them, it would be a club.
Okay, so local organized adult club is $93 per person per season.
I'm guessing they're. And we're probably gonna be arguing that the maintenance. It's mostly the water, maybe mowing. Actually, yeah, this courts need resurfacing and stuff occasionally. There's maintenance costs.
How many seasons are there? in
3.
Soccer?
Oh,
Soccer.
sorry.
There's two.
Two.
There's only one in softball. That's just I think there's 3 seasons of. Right, these 3. There's 4 for 3. There's no winter, right?
There's just a fall, spring, and
Yeah.
summer. Make effectively everybody takes the one off.
So if there were
Courts,
basically,
not the courts though.
if there were 6 teams, 8 players on a team. Although that might be high because some of them might play on two teams, but times the 92 you said times 3 seasons, that'd be $13,248 for the
town,
year.
For the town.
For the year, for the town, exactly.
Tom says he has 6 teams, 32 players.
So
That doesn't seem. How many people play in a match? 6?
Depending on the availability of the players, they can play anywhere from just 1 match in a season to most of the matches.
He says
He's
32
saying he has
players.
32 players across 6 teams.
16. I think 6 play in a match.
6 in each team.
Probably some of them. But anyway, there's.
Well, that's a
certain
lot
number of
less
players.
than- yeah.
36,
32.
32.
32.
And so that's what they would write on their application, 32, and it would be whatever number we pick. Over anything that's approved, but.
I mean, that's
We would start with it, and again, this is club thing. They're playing people, because people are coming here.
Yeah, we're coming from these other
$93.
companies.
How many games they say, but it's the same as, they don't play less than soccer.
that's $8,800 then with 32 people.
Each team typically plays 5 to 6 matches in a season, half at home, half away.
Well, there's
Yeah.
But, okay, well, we know there's 9 teams now. I just looked that up, so that would be 8.
6 games the whole season? Oh,
That's
yeah.
5 to 6 matches, half at home, half away.
If you have a 16-week season, that
Well, if
does
they were
seem
playing
pretty
all
low.
that Philadelphia, it would have been, be away, right?
So that means they only have 3 home games?
You know, we can look it up on the line.
Yeah, we can get the schedule off of the PV
Yeah.
pickleball.
But
So maybe we need to get more information specifically about how many matches they're playing on PV courts.
But they're also practicing too, so
They are practicing, but
I don't know how you do it, but you know, that's whereas all these member clubs, you can use the courts, but you're paying $400 a month.
it's the same for soccer, softball. You guys,
Right.
they practice too.
Right, softball doesn't, but.
Softball doesn't.
but Alpine Little League does, and AYSO and strikers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't have another sort of. I mean, there's a few practices, like 3 or 4 softball. We have 0
Pickleball practices a lot, though.
They practice a lot.
They practice. a
But
lot.
never no practice.
Pickleball,
But-
Don't need,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's different.
Okay. And so, just remind me, currently, we're not charging anybody a fee. And there are a few organizations that kind of get first priority on reservations.
No.
Oh,
Well,
well, yeah.
sorry. Yes, classes get priority. And Tom has scheduled his league practice at times when it's a downtime for tennis. So they've looked at SCEDA and said, nobody plays in the afternoon at 2 o'clock because it's too damn hot. So he schedules his league practices when he thinks that there's not a conflicting demand with tennis. So he's trying to fill in times that are not in demand. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I have,
But is he's doing that within the normal boundaries
yes.
of, I can't reserve more than a week ahead or whatever.
Oh, no, you can reserve 30 days in advance.
So he's every 30 days, he's
Yeah.
scheduling
Yeah.
lots of time.
Hercules.
I mean, I don't have the form in front of me. I think that we need to be consistent, and if that's what we're charging for soccer and softball, those are the adult leagues we have right now.
I can certainly see an argument that there's not as much
Pay something
maintenance.
different.
Well, yes, because they're a youth. They're a youth league, and strikers pay something different because they're a youth club.
Right.
I can certainly see the
And
I
argument.
just think it
AYSO
should be-
plays,
I think it should be
AYSO plays the same
consistent.
as Alpine.
Right? John, softball and soccer are paying the same thing.
They are.
So my feeling is we should just be consistent.
I can certainly see the argument that there's not enough maintenance. There's not as much maintenance.
Maybe you can start getting a salary for doing the reservation system. That there's different kind, I mean, you have to look at, maybe there's not as much physical maintenance like mowing. Hopefully they're cleaning the courts and we get new nets or whatever we need, but there's also administrative maintenance. You know, so.
Okay. More than that next week. Next month.
Well, I think we certainly need to make some kind of decisions and make a recommendation. I think they are.
Is that?
I don't know. I don't.
I think it's gonna happen whether they're used or not, right? That's what I was thinking. I'm not sure that's the argument as to why it should be lower.
So are we recommending $93 per person per season?
It will kind of.
Oh, we'll get plenty of feedback, I'm sure.
I was actually told by somebody, although I think that I think it was when the amount was the 60, right? There's one that's 60 that there might not be much, particularly the non-residents that are on the team, they get to pay $60 for the quarter and they're using courts. I mean, compared to $400 a month for a private club to $60 of 3 times a year or $90 3 times a year, there may not be a lot of pushback on that. I think the problem is we've let a lot of things happen and now it's hard to pull them back.
Yeah.
That's,
I'm sure the classes pay.
Like $180, $150, something like that.
I think the key is
No,
we're
not-
gonna have to
not per
adjust
person.
is not charging 20. We have to charge $130 like we do in softball, and soccer I just raised it to $150 because of these user fees. And So that's the
wait,
adjustment
which
we have to make.
organization are you talking about?
both the soccer and the softball, right? We don't charge $25 per person, right? But they're gonna have to just add $90 to $93 to the registration fee. So instead of being $25, it's gonna be $118. That would be a big jump. They're gonna have to
Is
adjust
there
for that.
even a registration fee to be on the Portola Valley team?
That pickleball thing, the intergroup thing.
Oh, that,
That's what we're talking about charging. Who else is it? That club. Who we're talking about.
I thought we would be charging the PV club. The Tom,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not charging the Peninsula Inter Club.
No, no, no. Right. He's just saying if you're adding the $25, so they're already paying
It
$25.
would go to the town, so the $25 goes to this Peninsula.
Right,
Inter
right,
Club.
right.
The 92 would go to the
What I'm
town.
saying is that the pay that they're gonna pay for is by raising their fees to the players from $25, which is what it is now, to $118 or whatever they choose.
Okay, so I'm thinking that has to be something where Tom pays it, he collects the money, he has a PV club.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay,
He's gonna have to
Yeah,
pay- he's gonna
yes.
they're gonna pay $93 to the town, but raising it $93.
right, it'll be
Yeah,
100
by-
and some per season.
That's what's that, they're gonna go from $5 to $118.
Okay.
So we'll see, we'll check to that.
We can tell them that we're not charging for all the back time that they've been on the courts. Look at all they save, look how much they save.
They're just not necessarily charged for lessons.
Okay, is there any public comment on this issue? Carolyn, you still have your hand up. Is it for this issue or is it for something else? Oh, you took it down. Okay, never mind. Oh, back up.
Great. I think this is a great discussion. I really agree with Karen. There has to be consistency. We have too many people who enjoy this freedom in Portola Valley. Everything is for free, and we're running on a deficit. So we welcome everybody, like myself, like on my record, I used the public course during COVID because we were not a member of Alpine Hills at the time. I was a member of Bay Club and I could not play tennis. And I enjoyed the public courts at that time, but there has to be consistency. Now I'm not playing at the public courts because if I want to play tennis, I play at Alpine Hills. But like Karen says, I mean, I pay more than $400 a month, and I don't even use the courts because I don't have time at this time, but that's a different issue. So we want to be fair. We would like to have as many people enjoy the sport, and that's why I participated in the conversation when local schools have an issue with booking courts because there's such a lack of availability, and I want to participate in that. We should open it up, but it has to be a fair play. And I feel there's too many people who enjoy the freedom and the free access in Portola Valley, and it has caused us so many additional problems. So just keep it simple. We all want to have a fair play. We invite as many people as we want, but it has to be consistent, and everybody has to pay something to maintain the courts, to have accessibility to the courts, whatever league, whether it's tennis or pickleball. Be fair to everybody, from young to old. We have to have a fair play in place. So thank you, Karen, for bringing this up. And yes, we support this, but it has to be consistent. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Okay, do I hear a motion on the floor?
Move adjourned.
Denied.
Are we ready for a motion? Are people's, it sounds to me like,
We're
I'm
gonna float
happy
this.
to make the motion, but I think that if it needs more discussion, it needs more discussion. Right? If
Do we
people
want
don't
to
think
float
the
it
fee
by
is
some
reasonable,
people?
yeah, or what do we do? Do we to get more data or?
All there is enforcing the law.
Okay, good point. It's right there.
What are the fees for use of town fields, tennis, all sports court, board field parking lot and picnic area, and they are a local organized adult club. Only thing, this is just as examples. Say the only people, just an example, is that, and it's $93.
Okay,
I think it's just a matter of communicating to the town staff that they need to start. For now, I'd say that the town staff isn't real, proactive about that stuff. Frankly, Little League went for a couple of years without paying, without applying or doing anything, and nobody noticed. If you just didn't enter anything, nobody there would say, kind of what's going on, but we would have to now go tell them, somebody's got to go talk to them, but maybe they may ask one of us to talk to the clubs and say, you guys have to start submitting applications. I'm not sure who else we could
we'll
talk
tell
to.
Cindy to tell them. How's that work, Patty?
What would they get?
What will they get?
Yeah.
They get what they're,
Outside of,
they get,
outside of schedule.
they get what they're getting today, except they have to pay for it.
But they would. Probably, they would for sure be able to block out a full season's worth of schedule.
Maybe we let them do that.
Oh, yeah, 100% they should be able to do
Yeah,
that.
they should be.
Within a reasonable request. I can't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a,
yeah.
well, yeah, that's the same thing with all the soccer fields, like
Yeah.
there's everyone, all the users come together and be like, okay, this is how we're gonna use it, so, because that's what Cindy gets, right?
Which may be a reason to take court 3 and make it a league court or something like that. Club court. That's a discussion,
Mhm.
maybe. If it's revenue generating, the other 2 are public. Just a thought. I mean, we don't have to decide that now, but
I guess what we're voting, we could, I guess, help but to say that we're gonna recommend that staff start enforcing the use of the pickleball leagues, clubs to be using the application process, right? They have to submit this application just like all the other clubs and leagues.
I think your point is valid. We're not introducing anything new, and we're just enforcing what we have. Is that the decision of the committee?
I agree.
Yeah, yes, I know that as a local adult
sports club. You can come complain to me, I've been paying these fees for how many years, 25 years, good 10,000 every season in that range.
Is this something that if we connect with Sarah, she can?
I'll talk to Sarah about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give her a summary of what we've decided.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm hearing the decision of the committee is to recommend that we enforce the existing Portola Valley fees for use of the tennis courts for local organized adult clubs. Okay. Thank you
We
very
don't
much.
enforce that. The fee is
Yeah,
enforced.
the town, yeah. Okay, all right, okay, realize it's late, let's, got dog park,
Very quickly.
yeah.
The last time we chatted, we suggested a trial. Dave said that he would also talk with Little League about potentially the dual use. No, we have to update everybody. So, and Dave did do that, and the message we got is that Little League is.
She was mad.
There we go. But Patty and I still went ahead and met with town about it, to on the other end. And we actually went over to Ford Field yesterday with Justin and chatted about things. And he, like we have looked at, he said, what about the open space? You know, the Dorothy Ford Park, this is Karen's. And suggested putting wood chips down. So it's, you know, because the area has a lot of holes and ground squirrels and such over there. And the issue that is going on there is there's two issues. One is people are completely against using that Dorothy Ford Park. Some people are using it for anything but open space because it goes against the original principles. And then the second one is conservation, who believes that fencing prohibits wildlife movement, migration, and, you know, one thought is there's already a big fence there, and it's just really an extension of that fence in a way. I mean, it'd be apart from it, and there's a creek there that a lot of wildlife probably travels along anyway. So the question is, well, number one, we have to go back to conservation, but really look at this as trial period. And the trial, and in our meeting last month, the question was, what do we want to learn from a trial? And I put this together and sent it to Patty and Dave, but love comments, but really is a usage issue. How many people and dogs would use it daily, key or peak times, follow the rules, et cetera. A maintenance issue. What are the issues with cleaning up after the dog, the wear and tear on the area, trash collection and other. And Justin felt that it was really easy to move trash cans there. Fairly simple to put a water line, extend the water line from Ford Field actually over to that area so there could be water for the dogs. He didn't see that as being, I don't want to quote him, but he didn't look at it as it being a really big maintenance issue if it went over on that other side. And then the real question is, would this really change behavior of the people that congregate at town center or otherwise? You know, would people really do that, or would they just continue their regular use of the town center and the schools? But it's a test. That's what it would be.
So you're proposing that we're not doing it on Ford Field baseball field, we're doing it on the Dorothy Ford Park field. Then are we then installing a temporary fence?
We would install a temporary fence. Now, we're not proposing it because we still have to go back to conservation, but
Just talking.
yes.
We're discussing.
Yes,
We're discussing.
this is, we're back to this idea again. Yeah.
Even though there's fencing everywhere.
Right.
You know,
So-
there's, by the way, another place I just looked and there's a fence. I know those other objections, but this whole Springdown area down over here, there's actually a fence that runs around the entire thing.
The split rail fence.
It's kind of broken down.
The issue at Springdown is the fence.
It's a deed restriction issue.
There, I was in the spring. It was more just that the people in Springdale didn't want it. And it was open space. So that's the same as
It's the same.
Ford Park.
It's the same.
Yeah, I'm just saying it might be a better place because it's right next door.
It would be a better place.
It would
but
be an
we've been told
awesome
it's off the
place.
table, like
Yeah.
it was sort of like, so we can go back and look at that again.
Everything's described as off the table.
That's true.
Ford Park was off the table until they decided that it was okay to put apartments there.
So that's the update. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that was good. Thank you. So I think the action item there is, I don't know, Karen, are you offering to go back to conservation?
We'll go back to
Thank
conservation.
you. Get Mary Ann involved. Get Mary Ann involved. You guys can do this together.
Should we get a copy of the deed restriction for Springdale? Because I've never seen that, and not that I'm an attorney, but
I can ask Howard.
why don't we see what that is as well? If we're gonna keep going back, let's turn over the
You gotta
rocks.
decide that just because the conservation. No.
Right, because they're advisory,
Right. And
yeah.
again, that's what happened with the housing. Right, a lot of people said no. to the board.
Yeah, we just
Ford
go
Park, and they said-
forward
They
and
just
say, yeah.
pushed through it.
Yeah,
Just so people on Zoom know, my battery is running low, so if it goes off, then that's what happened, but we're getting close here to the end. So on the dog park, we are going to go back to the Conservation Committee and look at alternates to Ford Field because of, yeah,
Wait, what's, so I know that, again, Office of Little League may not like it. It's not their field, it's our field. And what's happening now is that they're using the other baseball field. So what's the difference between Ford Field and Town Center Field? I mean, there are dogs running on it. There are dogs running on the soccer field right now because it's closed. And so they've moved over there.
agreed. I didn't mean to say we were abandoning Ford Field only because of Little League. I mean, I agreed it would be a town decision, not a Little League decision. But thinking that there were fewer impediments, for lack of a better word, to the Ford Park versus Ford Field, we thought we would look at that first before we deep.
So-
I think there's more impediments for the open space than there is for the soccer baseball field. There's only one objector to the baseball field, and that would be Little League, because they just don't want to, sanction dogs running on their field.
Well, Justin still had a lot of different issues. Maintenance, dog digging, fencing
That's what
off
they're doing
the,
here all day, every day.
no, I understand.
So one of the issues with, this is when we were looking at Ford Field, is it would be dual use, just like the town center is. So this doesn't really, I think that having, in my personal opinion, is using Ford from 8 to 10 a.m. and like in the morning, Monday through Friday, which is what Nealon Park does. Is not going to change the behavior of the people that it needs to be it needs to be open.
You know what would change the behavior? What they're performing.
Well, there's the issue. Well, it's an enforcement issue again.
It's an
right?
enforcement issue. Justin realized, yes,
And
but there's nobody to
staff-
enforce it, right?
And the staff they don't feel comfortable enforcing it. We're having some consistent issues here.
Who are the enforcers?
Sheriff,
It would have to be, it would have to be the
sheriff.
law.
Have to be the sheriff.
okay, how about the White House that's alongside the road, next to the Pride, it's owned by the Pride, it's been empty and not used for 10 years. And there was some indication that school they'd be willing to change things to have a dog park. Maybe we have a dog park in the house in the middle, but it'd still be a dog park. No,
Was there an indication from the school they were willing
I
to do
thought
it?
so. They said they weren't gonna fix it up, but they weren't gonna tear it down. I don't know, I have to go back and find out why it said that, but, I think I'll look into somebody asking. Good.
Yeah, so we did talk to Justin about the town center and he's frustrated with the two, but he has no power.
Do we make a recommendation to the council that they would tell the sheriff to start enforcing the leash laws?
Since we're paying them a whole lot more money.
Yeah, the San Mateo County and California leash laws.
I think we could do. I am so in support of that, but I think we need an alternative. And I think if we can show in a trial that we potentially have a viable alternative, then Justin actually said he would feel more comfortable saying, you can't use here, you gotta go there. But right now, he can't say that.
But he's not saying.
He's not
Sure.
saying it. I understand, I understand.
But then there would be a huge uproar for a dog park and we would then have some moment, we would have public outcry to help us blow through opposing committees.
That's one option, is we could go to the town and say,
Kind of the nuclear option.
we recommend that you enforce the leash law.
Right.
I think we could do the two things in parallel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean. So am I hearing support for going back to conservation and looking at alternate properties to see what we can do? Not closing the door down Ford Field,
Or baseball field.
Ford baseball field.
Just like if Dorothy Ford Park Field seems to be just as bad as Springdown for restrictions. So if we're gonna put temporary fencing up in an open space, let's do it at Springdown, because that's what's close.
Springdown has more because of the horse issue. I don't think you would have that as much I don't think you'd have it at all at Dorothy Ford Field Park. When we had talked to them about that before, their concern was the proximity of the dogs to the horses. That is true, yes. Okay, we gotta get people home here. So Karen, do you feel comfortable with the?
To go back, you're gonna try to talk to Howard about the deed for Springdown to really understand. And then I'm gonna go back to conservation. And I don't know how to look for this thing on the Priory property that you mentioned.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I have down.
Yeah.
I mean, we are like Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill on this one.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay. Okay, very quickly, anything on Hawthorne?
I had no updates on that. I know that they formed a working team, but I have not been notified of anything.
Okay. California State Grant, I don't have anything on. I did want to talk for 2 minutes on parking at Rosati's.
Oh.
It has come to the attention of people that the parking lot at Ford Field is often quite full,
Yeah.
even when there's no activity at Little League at the baseball.
Wait, let's just make sure I understand. There's parking at Ford Field, even though there's no Little League event at Ford Field, right?
Why is that?
It appears that there are people and or employees parking at Ford Field to go to Rosati's.
Shovel the spots.
Oh, good for them. I mean, from the standpoint of it's better parking at Rosati's because that's full.
They're still
Parking's right.
parking at Rosati's.
It's been, Rosati's is just,
It's
getting
overflow.
bigger and
It's
bigger and
overflow.
bigger. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
It's
overflowing.
overflow parking.
But that was always one of the solutions that was put out there.
It is a solution, except for the fact that the town on their field fees page says that if you're going to use Ford Field parking, you have to pay for it. $100 per.
And Rosati's didn't get approval from the town.
Rosati's did not go to the town to ask for it. It came up in
I
a
haven't seen a
conversation that
shuttle.
Dave
Have you
had
seen a
with Little
shuttle?
League, right?
So
Rosati's talked to Little League.
they're shuttling together. So they meet there and then they go over in one
Oh,
car. So
okay.
they're
So they're
carpooling.
Carpooling.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know
that's
if
been
illegal.
seen by some people.
I don't know if
So
that's illegal, or, even that they would have to pay for that. Yeah.
it's on our field fee structure, so if we're
Well,
gonna make
but if-
pickleball pay for it, why don't we make that free?
Well, it's,
Are the
they're not-
employees doing it or is like?
Yeah,
Rosati's
just
telling
We
people
you
don't
to do
know
it?
that, so
It's the thing.
I talked to Howard about it. Howard is aware of it. Howard has been talking to Greg. In fact, I think he sent him a formal letter saying that the town was aware of it, that the agreement, if any, or arrangement, if any, between Rosati's for use of the parking lot needs to be between Rosati's and the town, not Rosati's and Little League, or not just Rosati's by themselves.
Yeah,
So I just wanted to make you aware of that. Howard's involved, the town's involved. We are aware of it.
Tell me again, if you park at Ford Field, you have to pay
No,
somebody?
If
You
you want to, if
reserve
you're
the park.
using
Yeah,
the
but they're not
field,
reserving this parking, they're just using the parking.
Well, what's the difference?
it sounds like it's
They're just-
for
they're not
employees
preserving
that there's.
Are the employees doing it?
We need to,
So Rosati's management has asked them to.
We
do
don't
that.
know that.
we need
don't
more
know.
no, there's so
information.
many cars there that, I mean, they couldn't hire that many people. I don't think.
Yeah, that's right.
No, they have a lot of employees.
Uh,
We don't, okay, so
Yeah.
let's just not, we don't know everything that we need to know.
We,
So we are following up to find out, is it just the employees that have decided to do it? Is Rosati's encouraging them to do it? We don't know.
We do know that Rosati's did contact Little League about using the parking lot.
to make
So
sure
we
that
do
they
know
weren't
that.
interfering
Okay.
with the things.
So,
they
so
were
it
yeah.
came from
kind of good
Rosati's.
citizens.
Yeah, this is the thing, I don't hear anything bad yet. They wanted to check to make sure they weren't bothering Little League, they're trying to make more rooms and make it less dangerous at Rosati's. And, they're trying to solve a problem,
Yeah,
right, so.
And they should pay for it then.
I also, and I can't verify this, I was
Maybe.
told that you weren't supposed to use facilities for commercial purposes, and if indeed they are to support the business, that might have an issue as well. And if it starts to interfere with residents being able to use the field, this parking is an issue, as we
Sure.
know, so we.
It sounds more like whatever the town came to an agreement with them on in the Rosati's parking lot. Right, that's what we found out, is that the town staff in the end
Yeah.
leased it to them or something, right?
Yeah, in
So they're paying
2010.
there's paying some amount to the town for the parking.
And for that lot, and that agreement's from 2010.
No, but also, I thought it was something beyond that, because it was what enabled them to use more. Well, it's the parking that's not their property.
Correct, it's the stuff it's 100 spots adjacent to the
Yeah,
soccer
that.
field.
So they just need to have this, if they're gonna use the Ford Field parking lot, then maybe they have to have the same agreement. Frankly, $5,000 isn't gonna mean anything to the Alpine Inn.
Well, it should be
That's
be
like-
more.
That's like 10 minutes worth of business for
I
them,
know,
what it looks like
It's-
anyway.
it's- They're marking on one beer.
Right.
No,
Okay, so
I
we
mean,
should go-
what Howard and I, what I said to Howard is actually, if it's empty and Little League is not using it, then sure, I mean, if it alleviates some of the parking issues, why not? As long as they are going through the right channels and are reserving it or paying for it, just like,
Well, but we, see,
Anybody
we have
else
to be
would
careful of
do.
that too, because actually, I don't think we wanted them paying for it at Rosati's, because that enabled them to use it. And that screwed up the soccer people. So if we say, well, you should do the same thing there, now they're paying for the parking down there, we just have to be careful that they don't then feel like, look, we're paying for this. So
I think we
we get
should,
to use it.
no, but we'd say you can't use it during, Little League Friday and Saturdays, which is probably when they, for some
Which when they
Saturdays and
need it is
Sundays,
Friday, Saturday,
which is
Sundays.
when they probably want to use it.
That's what we should say for the soccer too. They
I
can't
agree
use
with
it from
that. I
3 to
agree with that
7.
too.
What about the field that's on the other side of the creek, next to the soccer field? Neighbors
They need to build a parking garage.
Well, I do, but I mean, they could build a road over there. I don't know much about it other than it's available.
Anyway, it just,
Okay.
we're not gonna solve it here. I just wanted to
All right,
make
so
you
they started
aware
using
that
it, yeah.
they are
I think
using
that's
it,
probably a good thing, personally.
Your point is a good one.
I mean, to your point, if it alleviated some of the safety issues on Roster Darrow and Alpine,
Yeah.
I think it'd be great. You drive over there are people still parking on Roster Darrow and Alpine. The problem is they don't have enough parking.
You want to know a funny thing about that, by the way? I just realized just today. If you go there the next morning, there's still cars on the rest of the arrow, right? And what's happening is, I think, is people are Ubering home.
Well, that's
And
smart.
they're leaving their cars along that
Well,
road.
it
mean-
is, except that's a safety issue.
Well, yeah, but at least they're not driving.
Well,
For
that's
sure.
true, that's
No, I
true.
think it's.
People
I think
can't
it's
get
just-
out.
Then they
it's
should
an
move their
interesting
car to the parking
observation.
lot.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay,
parking resides. Okay, anything else?
I move we adjourn.
Second,
Yes.
Couple of
please.
hands are, a
Hold on.
couple of hands are up.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody
Well,
online.
there were
sorry
hands
about
up.
that.
Sorry to go so late. Oh, we had hands up with everybody here, though. Sorry.
Oh, do they want to talk about the,
Did you guys want to say something before we go?
Yes, I just,
Yeah,
well,
you're-
looks like
it's
Carolyn
okay.
has her hand up too, but this is Rita, and I just want to say that for the past couple of weekends, before 9:30 a.m., there has been a full parking lot at Ford Field on Saturday and Sunday morning. So, and it's not people with bike racks on the back of their car. So I don't know where those people are coming from, but it's been for the past 2 weekends. And then, of course, it's that parking lot is full, after 11 a.m. all day long.
Yeah.
Actually, I
With people coming and going out of there. And, just my concern is, after spending a day at the bar in the sun, people are coming out of there.
For sure.
So, I don't know what we can do, and I do appreciate you having a conversation to talk about it. But, we've been having many accidents on Alpine Road.
Yeah.
And with this type of combination, it may, just increase that. But if your group can look into who's parking there early in the mornings. A full parking lot, mind you, for the whole perimeter. So it's over 30 cars on Saturday and Sunday mornings.
By the way, I've been playing soccer there on Saturday, Sunday mornings now. And
Oh, no, this is at Ford Field.
no, I know. I'm
No
just
soccer
saying
is
that
going
it
on.
was- I assume that there's an issue with also Rosati's because that parking lot was half full 2 hours before it opened. So there,
Right.
Right, it's just whether, I don't know if it's employees, I think it was a lot of bicyclists still. And Alpine Inn, I don't think mine's too much because they come back and they go into Alpine Inn, but that, I was surprised how full that parking lot was hours before it opened, just as an aside.
Exactly. And so, with the number of accidents, including a pedestrian being hit right there on Alpine and Westridge a couple of weeks ago. And, we didn't hear any more about it, except that a pedestrian was hit. Just more clarification, who's parking there and what's going on there. And if they are parking there on a regular basis, perhaps they need to have funds or something, but appreciate this group looking into it.
Thanks,
you.
Rita. Carolyn, did you have
I
something?
know, I hope I can, yeah, I have a lot. As a dog owner, I would like to comment on the dog park, but I will pass that right now. I see too many dog walkers using Portola Valley as a free ride to use our trails, leave the poop bags on our trails. You have to do something. I hear from dog owners, they have plenty of space. They use Corte Madera, they use Town Hall field, they use the back of Town Hall. I really don't understand what the issue is. If you want to start to find another area, fine, I will cooperate, but I would like to give you my public input. Then secondly, Rosati's. Listen, I support the business owner. And as a member of the PPTS, you can review and please, I hope you will do, because we have strived to get the police involved. There's so many issues around Rosati's, and it's not Rosati's or Alpine Inn. It's really the town is not participating, and law enforcement is not participating to find a solution. This is ridiculous. We have to do something. The Trails Committee is now involved. The PPDS is involved. I hope you will be involved. We have to come to a resolution, and we need to support local business. This is the biggest revenue for Portola Valley, and the town is not doing anything to help them. So we all have to be on board, and we all have to come to a resolution. I hope you will help us. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. We appreciate your comments. Okay,
All right.
adjourn.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
I have
Aye.
a question. You're gonna talk to who
Hang up
about
now.
Talk
parking?
to who?
Okay, how about the church down there at